Is Kim vegan? Has Kris lost her mind? Did Kourtney and Travis black out on a vegan night out? So I made a Kardashian video earlier this year talking about episode 1 of season 1 of the Kardashians on Hulu. People really seemed to enjoy that one. And then I recently got a recommendation from one of my subscribers, Eva, who has been a great recommender of video topics to me in the past. And she told me that there was more vegan stuff being discussed on season 2. I did not end up watching the rest of season 1 after I made that first video. And so I was like, hey, could you point me to which episodes? Because I'm not sure if I want to watch the entire season. So she did. And I ended up watching basically the entire season that's available so far. For research purposes, guys, for research. So watch that first video if you haven't, because in that video, I also discuss veganism and also a lot of diet culture comments and just problematic comments of that nature. So the topics of this video are similar, but also slightly different, and they will all be from what has aired of season 2 so far, which I believe is 7 episodes. So if you watched the old Kardashian show on E, which was Keeping Up with the Kardashians, it was very scripted, very formulaic. You felt like you were being lied to, like they weren't actually showing you their real lives. And on the Hulu show, what I like is you feel like you are actually seeing their real lives. There's not really any of these scripted storylines anymore. It's just showing what's actually happening in their lives, which is fascinating because their lives are insane. So Kim's relationship with veganism comes up again, just like in season 1. We're also going to be discussing a storyline involving animals that absolutely infuriated me. And then we're going to check in with our favorite punk rock vegan couple, Kourtney and Travis. So I talked in the first video about how Kim has flirted with the topic of veganism quite a lot over the years, and in episode 3 she addresses it head on. So Kim is in Milan for the Prada fashion show, and she goes to an Italian restaurant, sort of interspersed with her ordering food. There's an ITM clip where she says this.
Tonight, I have no restrictions for eating. I'm not sure if I've ever clarified this, but I'm what I think they call a flexitarian, which is like vegan sometimes and just not other times. So YOLO.
So now I guess we have some clarity that Kim is in fact a flexitarian, which I don't think comes as a surprise to anyone. I don't think anybody thought she was actually vegan. She talks about it a lot, but every time it shows her eating food on the show, she's never eating vegan food, which is fine. Sometimes I'm vegan and sometimes I'm not. Good for her. Whatever. The term flexitarian is an interesting term to me because some might say it doesn't really mean anything different from just your average omnivore, but I think it definitely denotes a person who is at least really trying to make an effort to incorporate more vegan food into their life and into their diet, and I think that's great, and I think it's oftentimes a stepping stone or just sort of testing the waters of veganism, and so if that works for people, then I'm all for it. But some of the language she used in this clip I thought was very concerning. Specifically, tonight I have no restrictions. You know, seeing veganism as restrictive, it reminded me of the first video where she says, I'm usually vegan, but today I'm going wild, and then she says YOLO. Again, making it seem almost like life isn't worth living if you're eating vegan food. I feel like you haven't lived until you've tried some of the vegan food that I've tried. So, I don't know, maybe I should come up with a new acronym. You haven't lived until you've tried this vegan pizza. Could catch on, you never know. I talked in the first video about how the way she talked about veganism led me to believe she was more interested in veganism for the potential weight loss aspects of it, you know, as more of a diety thing. And unfortunately, what she said here kind of just confirms that for me. I mean, you don't really get any more diety than the word restriction, and seeing veganism as restrictive or limiting, it's really not a good mentality to have in the long run. It's not really gonna help you stay on board with it if that's what you're trying to do. The reality is, I've heard so many people say this, and I feel this way myself, that people say, I've never felt less restricted than now that I'm vegan, because you discover different foods that you wouldn't have eaten before, you get more creative, you're trying different things, you feel like a whole other world of food opens up to you, rather than feeling restricted. At least I think that's how a lot of people feel. So I think unfortunately, even though Kim talking about veganism is great, saying things like that kind of reinforces the notion that veganism is restrictive. And, you know, you have to cheat and be bad in order to enjoy food, I guess. Insert Peacock Hulu joke here. Why did Hulu let Peacock get a bunch of free press on their network? So like I said in the beginning, this show in general is a lot less staged and sort of storyline feeling than the E! Show. Except for this scene that we're going to talk about now. So this scene feels to me like classic Kris Jenner hijinks, like she has to kind of come up with something. And boy, she came up with something here. This was in episode 4. Kris invites Martha Stewart over.
Martha Stewart's coming for lunch today because I am surprising Chloe with a housewarming gift. I want to buy her a peacock. I just wanted to get Chloe's mind off everything she's going through. When Chloe had her first house, she had a peacock named Petey. So I heard that Martha Stewart raised peacocks.
Immediately, I'm infuriated by the notion that they're going to have this whole storyline around buying an exotic animal as a pet. Chloe then meets Martha Stewart. She's really excited to meet her, and I thought this was interesting.
I love Martha Stewart. I love entertaining. I love organization. I love animals. I love flowers. I love all those things.
People talk about loving animals as a positive attribute in themselves, in other people, and sometimes I just want to be like, what do you mean exactly? Like, what animals do you love? I think when people are like, I love animals, they mean like, I love all animals except for the ones I eat and exploit for food. That was just an interesting comment going into the rest of the scene. So Martha Stewart notoriously had pet peacocks at her Connecticut home, and I guess she would post about them on Instagram all the time. And then I don't know if it was last year, pretty sure it was earlier this year or last year, she had 5 or 6, I believe, of her peacocks killed by a pack of coyotes. And I remember seeing this story and being so horrified and obviously saddened and enraged at it. And the way Martha Stewart announced it was she went on Instagram and posted, and she said something along the lines of like this gang of coyotes with an expensive appetite for poultry, which just made me feel like she was kind of minimizing the situation, making a joke about it, and also highlighting the fact that like these were my expensive birds, like really underscoring the fact that this is my property, you know? These weren't like sentient animals that I cared about. And I'm not saying she didn't care about them. I'm sure she very much did, but it really just highlights the fact that many people see animals as just property, things that they bought, things that they acquired, things that they can now show off and be like, look at how beautiful my peacocks are. Initially, I felt like there had to have been some negligence. Like, I don't know what the protocol is for keeping peacocks in your yard, but I do know that in Connecticut, there are so many predators. I lost almost all of my childhood cats to coyotes. My cats were indoor-outdoor cats. I don't want to talk about it. It was not my decision, but anyone who lives in Connecticut knows about the natural predators. And so, like I said, I don't know the protocol for keeping peacocks as pets, but clearly they were not in a safe enough way. And I will say that I saw something about how she said after that, they now have this new type of enclosure that's like much safer and that no one can get in. So I was like, at least she learned from it and is taking precautions to prevent this happening again. But the whole thing is just so horrifying, and this scene on this show is just reminding me of it. Chloe, Kris, and Martha start talking about the peacocks, and Chloe literally says that she doesn't want one.
I had seen Martha on the Ellen show, and she was talking about her peacocks.
Okay. I've never said I wanted a peacock before. My daughter doesn't like dogs. I'm working on a dog. Do you think my daughter is gonna want a life-size bird chasing her around? She won't even be around a puppy.
I think there's this core issue here, which is humans' inability to admire what's beautiful about nature. We can't just see a beautiful animal in the wild. We have to kill it and bring its head home and put it on our wall. We can't just see the beautiful feathers or interesting skin of an animal. We have to torture it and destroy it and take it as our own and put it on our own bodies to wear. These animals are so beautiful and rare and exotic because they've evolved to be that way in the wild where they belong, and we just want to take them out of there. It's such an ugly look on humanity, and obviously as a vegan this is something I feel very passionately about, but Chris is really displaying that here, and it is a really ugly look, I have to say. Also, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, buy someone an animal as a gift. Being a pet guardian or a pet parent, it is such an immense amount of responsibility, and there is this culture of just like, oh, this person's sad, I'm gonna buy them a puppy for Christmas. It's a very personal decision. It's like having kids. Like, you should never just foist an animal upon someone that they never asked for, never said they wanted. Then it shows Chris and Khloe heading to the peacock farm, and I'm like peak rage and blood boiling at this point. And then Khloe clarifies.
You're not listening.
Okay.
It wasn't mine. I didn't buy it. It was a wild peacock that would come in and then they would fly away.
Just further reason why this whole thing is so stupid and misguided. It's setting a horrible example for people watching. Like, you want a fun exotic animal and you can afford it, hey, just go to one of these farms and buy one. And Khloe ultimately decides that she doesn't want the peacock, and they leave the farm, and I am relieved.
You were the one that wanted this. I have no idea where this came from.
Because you had I was trying to think of something
No,
to
you
give
just
you.
wanted a reason to have Martha Stewart over for lunch. None of this made sense to me at all. I've never once talked about a big bird. I don't like birds in general.
So it turns out this whole thing was really just an elaborate gag for the show. I just thought this was such a bad look because there were so many sort of adjacent things they could have done in this storyline to set a positive example or a positive message. Like, maybe they could find some type of sanctuary for exotic birds and go and be like, I thought you'd love to do this because, you know, maybe it would cheer you up, like learning about the birds and helping out and getting to be around them. And I'm sure that would have lifted Khloe's spirits, and that would have been a great piece of content as well for the viewers. And then they would have been showcasing that, like, this is where these animals belong. If they're not able to be in the wild for whatever reason, they should be at a nonprofit sanctuary where they're getting excellent care, and the priority is their well-being and not their money-making ability. So yeah, just a real swing and a miss for me. Let's end on a really positive and fun note, which is episode 6, in which Kourtney and Travis are doing a photo shoot for Daring Vegan Chicken.
We have this photo shoot for Daring Vegan Chicken.
Even Kourtney just saying Daring Vegan Chicken in her ITM, even that in and of itself is such great promo for the company. And this whole scene just made me so happy to see this sort of full-fledged, high-budget photo shoot for a vegan company. So while they're getting ready for the photo shoot, Kourtney is telling the story of the best night ever that her and Travis had in Vegas, which is when they got fake married at a wedding chapel in Vegas.
Like, we had the best day and night at the Grammys. And then after we went to eat, we were starving. We found the best, like, vegan sushi, like, dive restaurant in a strip mall.
I was watching, like, taking notes, like, okay, like, what is this place called again? Like, I think I might like to go there someday. And then the producer says this.
Okay, it cannot be sushi if it's vegan.
Just that remark and the ignorance, like, you can't call it this if it's that. Like, come join us in the 21st century. We'd love to have you. It's 2022, vegan sushi is a thing, get over it. But what was great about the producer saying this is that Kourtney then has a chance to defend it.
It is. It's like made of like tofu and avocado and like...
That's not sushi.
I know, but it's vegan sushi. It's like sushi rolls. It's so good.
So far we've got Daring Chicken being promoted, and we've got vegan sushi being promoted and also clarified about what exactly that is. So then they got fake married in a chapel by Elvis, and Kourtney tells the story about how Elvis keeps calling her Chloe, which is kind of hilarious that this Elvis impersonator like was familiar enough with the Kardashians to know that one of them's name is Khloe, but not familiar enough to know that this is not Khloe. So then she says this.
What could be a more fun night in Vegas? I am truly living my best life. Don't let anyone tell you any different.
So then we move on to the actual photo shoot. Kourtney says that her friend Simon works with Daring, and that's how, I guess, this whole thing came together of her and Travis being part of the shoot.
Doing the campaign for this vegan chicken brand just makes sense for us, and it's something that we're both really passionate about.
So I can only assume this means that they're really passionate about veganism and spreading vegan awareness and promoting vegan alternatives. Then she says this.
I guess vegans do have more fun. It's like so cheesy.
In this moment, Kourtney really does seem to be so genuinely happy and content in her life. And if you are familiar with the show at all in the past, Kourtney always had the reputation for kind of being the dour one, of always kind of being in a bad mood, never really wanting to do anything, never wanting to film. And it seems like, you know, she's even said this, that she really wasn't happy in the past. Now she seems to be so genuinely happy, and I think her relationship with Travis is a big part of that. Vegan food and their experience at the vegan sushi place was part of the telling of this story. You know, she talked about like 4 different things, and getting dinner at a vegan sushi place was a part of that. And I think that's just such a great endorsement. I'm not sure if Kourtney's a vegan, but she really seems to support the cause, support her husband and his veganism, and just truly be a vegan ally. So I remember when they launched this campaign, it was back in June, and I remember seeing it on Instagram. The caption on Kourtney's post was hilarious, which was, guys, there's chickens that are dying. In case you don't get the reference, on the old Kardashians show, in one of the early seasons, there was a scene when they were on some tropical vacation and Kim lost one of her diamond earrings in the ocean, and she was freaking out and crying and trying to find it. At one point, there was a shot of Kourtney standing outside the door holding her baby, and she says, "Kim, there's people that are dying." It's just become one of the most iconic lines from the show. So the fact that she used that, but with the chicken, like, I'm not sure if she came up with that or if it was a daring marketing person, but kudos to whoever did, because in fact there are chickens that are dying. Again, the Kardashians altogether have over 1 billion followers on Instagram. Kourtney alone has 203 million followers, which is insane. So while I haven't always been happy with how veganism has been represented by the Kardashians, you know, it being restrictive, animals being seen as accessories, I think ultimately it's a win. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There was so much else that I wanted to talk about just in terms of like diet culture and body image, etc. Episode 7 was getting into talking about Kim in the Marilyn Monroe dress, which could be its own whole separate video, but I think we covered a lot today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had fun making it. I mean, doing the research was really, really difficult. I had to watch like 7 episodes of the Kardashians, but I did it for you guys. And give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Subscribe for more of my videos, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.